And then we go to the next step. In this step, we are going to implement the algorithm. And there are several tips for you. We will need to finish each commented block. And while we are coding, we will need to check what have been done. And while we are coding, we also want to add more comments. Additionally, we want to take care of the coding style as well. Let's have a look at how we can implement our algorithm. To implement the algorithm, we will do it step by step. First of all, we will need to implement the part what I have. According to the algorithm and the question, I have a vector v. It contains the elements 1, 5, 3, 7, minus 2, 7. Always remember to put a semicolon after each statement. And we can write a comment to describe what it is. So this is my vector. And I also have one x that I'm searching. So I define x as 20. I can also write another comment to describe x. This is the element that I am looking for. So until now, I have finished implementing the first part, and I remove the unused spaces. And then let's implement the second part, my loop. According to my design, I will need to implement a for loop. So I write a for loop here. I need to use the indices to control my for loop. So I define I as my indices. It changes from 1 to the length of the vector. And then I leave some spaces for my loop body. And I write one end to complete my for loop. And in my loop body, I will implement the statements according to my design. First of all, I need to store the current element in the vector v in a variable called current element. So I define my current element as this one. And I store the current element in the vector in this variable. And I can write a comment for that. I say it is my current element in the vector. Then I check whether the current element matches x. If they match, I will need to do something. If they do not match, I will need to do something else. So I will need one if else statement to implement this. The first condition is this one. If the current element matches x, so we check whether two values equals to each other. If they match, we will need to store the current index in somewhere else. And I design a variable called answer. It stores the current index. And when I store the current index, that means I have found my answer. For that case, I will need to break out of the loop. Break will help us to stop the current loop. So for this case, we have found our answer. And for the next one, that means the answer is not found yet. So for this case, we will need to keep checking. Keep checking here means we don't need to do anything under this condition. So when we are programming, we can simply remove this part. And let me check whether I have finished my for loop. According to my design, yes, I have finished it. So I remove the unused spaces. And then I go to implement my third part, printing part. According to my design, if I have found my answer, I will need to display the index. Otherwise, I will need to display a message. So for this case, that's simple. I can just display a message, not found. And if I have found my answer, how can I write a statement? How can I write a condition to check whether I have found my answer? Notice here, if I have found my answer, I will store the index in the variable answer. I can use the installed function in MATLAB to check whether I have the variable answer. If I have the variable created in MATLAB, that means I have found the index. So I will just display my index. And now I have finished my printing part. And then I remove the unused spaces. Then I remove the unused comments, just like that. And I go through my implementation. I check whether my implementation is finished according to my design. And I can see the work is done. I already have noticed there are two differences between my design and my implementation. Think about it, whether I need to change something in my design. Sometimes the answer is yes. We may want to update our design while we are coding. As we can see in this video, this is how we read and analyze the question, design the algorithm, and implement the algorithm. We hope you can follow the steps when you are working on your practical works. This is the end of this video. Thank you for watching.